attempted a drum roll. See, I don't have cool effects like Jade Starr. I don't have like, she probably does. Hello, Jade Starr. How the hell are you?
I'm good.
That's
How
good.
are you, Pete?
I'm good. We were just talking about swearing, and then I said the HE double hockey sticks. Does that count? Is that bad in the new YouTube rules? I don't know. I can't keep track.
They released two new words. So it was damn and hell.
Really?
Oh, I had no idea they were in the
screwed.
list. Like, really? Like, what are we living in? Like the 30s?
Well, I'm gonna have to switch to heck and what's a damn replacement?
Well, no, hell's released now. It's cool. You can
it's
say
okay.
hell,
These
and you
are all
can.
good.
Yeah, they were previously like banned.
They were good. Oh, okay. So now we can say damn and hell. Sure as hell can't talk about hell if I don't say hell, can I? All right. Now, except there's some clause where it's like, as long as you don't say it 10 times in the first 1 minute, and then you're actually screwed. Don't worry, this is what it's like when me and Jay get together. And I thought, let's have Jade on the podcast this week because these are the chats we have behind the scenes, and you get to see them in front of the scenes, I guess. Hello, everyone. Jade, you just did a cool interview with Al, our mate Al, Night Train 1988. How'd that all go? We'll talk about it in the pod anyway, but that all went well by the looks of it. I caught about half of it.
I hope so. I hope it goes well because, like, when I started that series ages ago, and I did 5 of them, and they were popular, but at the time there was still not a lot of people like on my channel. But now there's so many new artists thanks to Hippie and Ron and all these channels. There's such a bigger pool, and I've interviewed so many people now. This year I wanted to take a break and maybe do less interviews each month and have this as a little special thing. It's still an interview, but I think showing people behind the scenes stuff is got a lot of value. So hopefully people enjoyed it. I like doing it.
Yeah, no,
That's all that
it's
counts.
cool. Oh, it's something different, and in this day of saturation of video content, you need to have something new, something different, something unique. So I like it, and I even learn things, and that's the cool thing. I know in previous episodes I've learned some techniques and things in GarageBand that I've then stolen and made tutorial videos about. So it's wonderful for me because I don't have to use my own brain. So that's a great thing.
And you know what it's like. It's really hard to come up with new things and keep your channel. It's really hard because you take a risk and then it plummets and then you've got to start again and that affects the analytics and all that stuff.
The algorithms. Yeah, we'll talk about all that stuff here today. As you know, because I think you've been on all 3 iterations of this show now. We did Home Studio Q&A, we then did the Creator Town Hall, and now I've switched it to a podcast. So just goes to show that you gotta try things, don't you? What do we say? You do. Yeah, fail harder, as Thomas Christ would say. Speaking of, should we say good day to folks? Then we'll get set up. By the way, if you could, while we're just ranting here, if you could let us know if Jade or I need to come up, down, or otherwise, because you folks are audio pros. So if our balance needs any work, let us know while we say hello to Thomas Christ, to Michael Thompson. Greetings, Earthlings, from the Omni Collective Creativity. Could you tell, hey, Omni, is that a C or is that a D? I don't know. I love Omni Collective Creativity in the chat because if I'm ever struggling with something technical, he's on it in a flash. I love it.
The other day, I was recording my song, and I'll explain this. Omni was in the chat, and I was tuning up my guitar, and he had the gall to go, it's 2 cents out. And I told him to F off, right? And I need to explain why I said that. Omni, I was still tuning it. Let me finish, my friend. I know you've got the hearing of a I don't know, something that has really good hearing.
Bats, do they have that sonar hearing?
I think sonar's like isn't it a visionary thing? I don't know.
I think so. I thought it was
We're not here to talk about bats. Welcome to How to Bat on iOS.
Studio Bat today. Hello, Leela, by the way. Hello, Enid. Brad Example, one of the nicest men alive, and sexy too. Hello, Mr. Smith. I hope you are doing well. Who have we not said g'day to? The Mix Club. G'day to you. I can't see who we haven't said hello to. I'm sure there's people out there. Just drop your chat. We'll talk about that actually later about chat etiquette. That's one of our topics. Jade's threw it in there. It's like, yeah, let's talk about this. And I'm like, oh yeah, we are long overdue to talk about that. Fat Panda Cat, hello to you. And Cold Acre, how to bat off.
Oh, God.
Old Acre's always got to take it to another notch lower. Alex Bacchus, hello to you. Pete, at a D third octave with overtones, somewhere at the sixth. There you go. It was a very unique note that I threw out there, I guess. No one's telling us we sound dreadful, or that either of us are clipping, or that our balance is way off. So
Mr. Smith said we were good, and I trust him with my life.
Oh, there you go. What about the Semtex cow? I trust them with my life too. I do. There's some folks. I joked about this the other day, but I was in Jade's chat, and I didn't know what is it that Feisty Feather is married to Folk Punk, who's father of Folk Kid, who's got Pete. Folk Baby on the way, and I'm like, I don't understand any of these connections, but good luck.
Feisty Feather is married to Folk and Blueser.
There you go.
And Folk Punk is a completely separate entity, nothing to do with him, just a good friend. Right? He's not their child. We were in Clubhouse going, Pete, what's going on?
I'm going to connect you all by the end of the show. I'm going to be like, and Leela is going to be like the auntie of everyone. I think Leela is kind of all of our auntie. My children, my children think Jade's Auntie Jade. So that's pretty fun.
I like that.
Yeah, where are we at? SLP, hello to you. How are you? By the way, if you're not aware, this is obviously not the podcast. Well, it could be. You know what? One day this will be just the podcast. But this is the pre-show. This is what you only get when you come to the live event. You know what I should do?
It gets better.
It does a little bit. Just a little bit.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. And Auntie G, there you go. Auntie G is also everyone's auntie. Good point, Alex Bacchus. Agree on that one. So we are just going to, I think we've got everything set up here. We've got our topics, which are over here to the side. You folks can be interactive as well. So if you do have questions or if you have comments, it is a bit more of a free-flowing thing. So we won't be like responding and saying hello to everyone new that comes in or every comment. But if you got questions, you know the drill by now. Just put a big fatty old Q in front of your comment. And the good news is that when I've got Jade or Tom or someone here on the show, I can actually pay more attention to the chat, not less. So I'll actually not miss as much as I usually do. Any final thoughts from you, or before we get started properly here, Jade?
This is what it's going to be like.
This is yeah. I don't even know why we didn't just hit record at 1 second in.
Computer says no.
No. All right. Oh, that's what I needed to do. I need to make sure I've got all the things that I can put up on the screen, which I didn't have set up. So you get all the behind the scenes, all the boring stuff that Jade and I usually do while you folks are just chatting to each other. There it is. There's the How-To app on iOS. Well, it's your Uncle Arthur, isn't it, eh? Don't know why I went on.
A little bit of Honey Don's music, I get Bobby Moonlight, So you know, hundreds of people are going to have no idea what that is about, Pete, and we love it.
That was for you, me, and James. Everyone else is just completely confused.
Honey Don's music, God.
We'll talk about. I'm listening to a podcast with Glenn Robinson at the moment. It's really good. We'll talk about that later. It was kind of what inspired me to get back into doing the podcast thing. Anyway, I'm gonna.
Can I say before we go on, there's an awesome podcast that was on with Auntie Donna and Weird Al Yankovic the other day. You would love it. They had him on trying to help them write a parody song, and their song was all all the rhymes were wrong, and he was just going, no, you have no idea how to write a song, and he was just admonishing them. It was so funny. You'll love it. You should check that out.
I will. There you go. That could be a recommendation when we get when we get into the podcast. All right, I'm going to throw Jade unceremoniously backstage and do our little intro here, and then we'll be back in a jiffy. Bye, Jade. All righty. So we're going to count it down. We're at the 9 minute. So at 9 minutes and 20 seconds, we're going to start this show. Yes, it's the Studio Live Today podcast here on, surprisingly enough, Studio Live Today. On this week's show, we'll be talking about AI in music creation. Does it belong or will it doom us all? We'll talk about online music communities, how to get the best out of your online interaction. And when you watch your live stream, what is the etiquette it can be a slippery slope. But I'm not going to talk about all of this by myself. I have brought in an expert, a resident iOS expert. She's the host of How to App on iOS. Has too many bands to even mention. Jade Starr, Dread Circus, Me Fiesta, FMC. We're very delighted whenever we can have this wonderful lady on the show. It is the one and only Jade Starr. How you doing, Jade?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Pete, for having me on your podcast. It's always a pleasure hanging out in Studio Live today. I wish I was there in your studio like I was once before.
Well, and you have indeed been. We were talking in the pre-show, and by the way, if you want to catch the live pre-show, it's available on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio version or you're catching up on the replay, come and join us live. It gets even weirder. But we were talking about the fact that you've been on every incarnation of this show, including the first episode of the last version, Creator Town Hall. So it's always a pleasure to have you here. Now, I'm assuming that probably 80 to 90% of people listening and watching right now know who you are and what you do. But for those who don't, you're in the corporate world. What's the Jade Starr elevator pitch?
Do you know, interestingly enough, I have been working on a new video for my YouTube channel, for the opening YouTube channel, and I wrote a script for it. I'm not going to read it out, but it was really fascinating doing that to work out what I do these days. Because what is it I do? I feel like I just sit on camera every day and talk a load of nonsense. But as if people are enjoying it, then that's fine. But I'm a musician, I guess. I've been doing it for many, many years. I moved to iOS back in around 2009 or something. And I continue to make music. I continue to challenge myself. And I sit here on YouTube every day interviewing amazing artists, teaching people how to use apps, and on the weekend performing. Because, you know, we live in a world now where still it's hard to get gigs and go outside. So doing it on YouTube is just fantastic. I'm incredibly blessed to have this YouTube channel and connect with everybody every day. I love what I do. It's great.
There you go. Perfect explanation. And I love what you do because I don't have to cover apps anymore, which I think is wonderful.
You should do some.
I should do some. I've been very slack and lazy. I should cover some apps. But I remember having the conversation with Jade because I've known Jade for a long time and we've been part of some of the same online music communities, which is a good segue to what we'll talk about in a little while. And early on, Jade would be there in the chat, and every time someone would ask a question about how to do something on iOS or a new app that came out and how to use it, she'd be in there writing long diatribes and long explanations and screenshots and making little videos. And I'm like, Jade, you just need to make this a show. You need to make these videos and tell people how to do this stuff so that instead of you having to sit there and answer 17 questions a day, you can point to a video and go, there, I talk about it for an hour, go check it out. That's exactly what you need. So I think it's you are a blessing to the iOS music creation community.
Thanks, Pete. Well, you know, I still do that. And yesterday I did that on one of the groups, and I even made a short video. I did a screen recording to help that person. I'm not going to say who it is. And then they went, oh, thanks for that video. But now could you explain to me what an AUV is compared to an inter-app audio? And I was like, I don't know. I don't think I've got the time to write a novel. Here's some links. Bye.
There you go. Well, what you would say is just go to studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand to the Studio Live Today GarageBand FAQ, where we answer all the questions, including the difference between an AUV3 and inter-app audio. Speaking of which, we are brought to you today by me and studiolivetoday.com. So if you do want to find out who I'm podcasting with next, who is doing what around here, all of the live shows that I do, jump on over to studiolivetoday.com. And if you're watching the video, hello. Don't we look pretty? But you can go to the audio version, studiolivetoday.com/podcast. I'm going to talk a little bit quickly about what's happened in the last week here on Studio Live Today, and then I'm going to find out from Jade what's been happening with her over on How to App on iOS and in the Jade Starr universe. So here on Studio Live Today, been a little quiet. I went to the beach this week with the family, which was lovely. So not as many pre-recorded videos, but we did talk a little bit on GarageBand Weekly about recording guitars, recording vocals. That was a lot of fun. It was like a nearly 2-hour epic of GarageBand recording goodness. Your Music Live was another cracking one with some great music on there as well, and did a little happy hour show as well. So it's a quiet week, I guess, by Studio Live Today standards. Jade, what's been happening over in your world? And by the way, if folks want to check you out, there is a link in the show notes or the description wherever you are to go to Jade's YouTube channel, or you can go to jadestar.com.au Don't forget the AU if you want to find out what Jade's up to. What's the last week been like for you on the channel and around the place?
It's been crazy. I released a song already this year. So I've released a song from the forthcoming Dread Circus album. That's been fun because lots of people have loved it. So thank you all for loving it. And it's had lots of views and lots of really lovely comments.
Round of applause.
Thank you. What else has gone on? We've looked at some apps. Oh, and I'm recording a song myself. So I had my second episode of Create, Record, Release a song using N-Track Studio Pro. That's for Kindercore. That's coming along cool. So we're both recording songs, Pete. Awesome.
I know. We're actually we're doing what we say.
I know.
Not just what we do.
And had Night Train on, and that was amazing as well. So I'm really looking forward to this year releasing a lot of music. I have a roadmap.
Ooh.
Not as brutal as what you set yourself last year, but I have a roadmap. I think so. We've had one song released, Dread Circus, which is part of an album coming out. Kindercore will be in a couple of weeks. Utensils in a few more weeks later. Dread Circus album this year. FMC EP for Songtember. And to wrap out the year, I'm finishing off my movie. I've got a lot of stuff to do this year. So, yeah.
It's all been happening. And, just happened to have, Billy Gould just drop by from Faith No More for a quick interview as well.
That's what it's like over on my show, Man, but that was the coup of the year last year. I was bugging out. I worked so hard to get him on the show. He was so sweet. I think when I first approached him, he was traveling across Europe, and he was like, "Look, I can't do it, but get back to me in November." And when somebody says that, you're like, "That ain't happening." And when I contacted him in November, he went, "I like you, Jade. You're very persistent. I'm coming on your show." I was like, "Thank you." It was amazing.
Let that be a lesson. There you go. There's your first tip. If you take away nothing, if you tune out now after 7 minutes of the show, take that tip on, which is that sometimes persistence and consistency overrules talent and connections and everything else. So if you are just the person in there asking the question and being consistent about it, you'll be surprised at how often you get a yes, or even an eventual yes. Not necessarily a yes straight away, but an eventual yes. So keep trying that. You'll do well. We're going to crack into our topics here now. So the feature topic that we talked about right up front, and the reason I wanted to have Jade, it was funny. I was doing a chat about AI with, I can't even remember who it was now, but we were talking about AI in music, and someone was like in the chat saying, "You need Jade Starr on for this. Jade Starr is the expert on this." And I'm just like, "Oh, sorry, I'll still talk about it." But you're right. I will get Jade Starr on the channel to talk about AI, because you've got a bit of a history and a background with doing things AI related, and with automation, and with a lot of the animation and some of the stuff that you do with your music and your videos and your website. So you've been kind of dabbling in this space for decades, whereas most of us have kind of come on board like 6 months ago when we're like, "Oh, we can make pretty pictures with just some text." So what is your thought? What's the overview for Jade Starr when you think AI, artificial intelligence, and music creation with all the things we've seen recently? What's your take? What's your hot take on the topic?
My hot take is, don't be scared. This is a tool like anything else, and there's never going to be a time where AI takes over the world. I'm writing a movie about it. I've been writing a movie about it for a few years, about AI taking over. But the only reason in the film I've written that it takes over is that we've allowed it to in that circumstance. And as long as there's two things with AI that you need to make sure you don't give AI power to do. And that is to control your financial system and your electrical network and nuclear weapons. And there's no chance it's going to control nuclear weapons, because if you have done any kind of research into how missile launches and all that kind of stuff is, how it's organized, it's all done on computers that can't even connect to the internet.
Yep.
Back on computers less powerful than a 386 that still run on floppies, and all of the key codes to set off a bomb are set on a floppy disk. There's no way it can be infiltrated, so don't ever fear that. They're never going to upgrade computers to be connected to the net. Get that out the way. But like anything, AI needs to be treated like an extension of who we are. That's it in a nutshell. We use auto drummers in GarageBand.
Yep.
We use synthesizers. We use effects. We use so many things that are extensions of ourselves already. There is no way that something that is programmed by us will take over, because I've made chatbots before, and what you put into the chatbot is what you get out of the chatbot. People think they're going to become sentient, and it's idiotic. It's not going to happen. Relax. Enjoy that for what it is, and use it to accentuate the stuff you already create.
Yep. Agree. And I think people get caught up on this natural versus artificial thing, and not only in like for AI, but for everything in life. And, especially people in music, they're just like, oh, it's just not natural to use all of these auto drummers and all these synthesizers and things. And I'm like, bro, electric guitar is not natural. A drum kit's not natural. Yet someone decided, hey, when I spread some skin across this thing and then I whack on it, then all the recording that we do, tape, like people are like, oh, analog's so much better, and it's like, that's not natural. That's a man-made thing. That's someone that got some tape and then decided, oh, hey, you know what, I've got this magnetic tape, I can record to it. So the whole natural versus artificial thing, I think, is rubbish. And I think you're right. It's another tool, and it's another way to do things. And if you've watched the amazing documentary War Games, that from the 1980s, that the keys are too far apart. They can't launch the missiles because the two keys are too far apart. You need two guys there. I'm
if you're getting your information from War Games, you probably need some help. But think about too, like the Industrial Revolution. All the same things were said about that. It's going to be the end, and then there's going to be no jobs. There's the only reason there's going to be no jobs, there's going to be, all these things like that, is if we don't adapt with it. And unfortunately, the problem is that we should be focusing on as a species, sorry to get a bit deep here, is that the people in power are controlling the rate that we move with this technology. It's the same with with copywriting and now that we have AI making music. We need to move our laws with this stuff. That's the more important thing, because there's no way like AI is going to take over. It needs us to put an input. And the Industrial Revolution happened. We're all still here. Computers happened. They're taking over menial jobs. We're all still here. If anything, I'd like to see us to get to a place where computers could do things and we had more time to make music and be with our friends and families. That sounds like utopia to me. So let's embrace it.
And that was, again, not to give a history lesson here, because this is a music podcast, but that was what the Industrial Revolution and then the technological revolution was originally about. It was to free up the time. So, and I was watching the new the Johnny Depp version. I know whatever you say about Johnny Depp, but I was watching that with my kid when we both had the Cove a while ago, and the scene at the start where the dad's working in the toothpaste factory, screwing on lids on toothpaste holders, and I'm like, it gave me, and then he was replaced by the toothpaste screw lid 3000 that didn't have a job, and I'm like, do we really want to artificially prevent technology from taking over the things that we don't need to be doing? And that could be, I know that there's someone out there that's a truck driver that is listening to this going, screw you, Johns, I want to drive my truck. But if we could develop something that is going to do that in a more efficient and safer way, and you can not spend 60 hours a week driving in dangerous conditions and being pushed to the limits of human possibility and having to probably pop a bunch of pills to get it done, isn't that better? Isn't that better overall? But I think we're stuck in this world, and again, like you say, the 1%, I've got a song about that, the 1% that control all the finances and pull all the puppet strings would love to see us continue to be caught in this loop and angry and frustrated and working hard, because that means we can't be thinking and creating and doing cool things. So I guess, quit your job, become a full-time musician, be like us.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities with AI. Unfortunately, we're only scratching the surface with it at the moment, and currently they're using it for menial tasks at YouTube. I'd rather see people make music and art with AI than have my content on YouTube get judged by AI, because it's nearly always wrong there. And hey, the AI art gets fingers wrong, but there's plenty of artists who draw terrible as well. I think there's room for it. I don't think it's the doom and gloom, and there's plenty of artists and musicians already embracing it and using it to accentuate their music. It's never going to take over. If you're thinking that, I don't know what to tell you.
What's your favorite thing that you've seen in the AI space in the last 12 months as it comes to creation, music creation or any other sort of creation?
Look, I really love ChatGPT. I think it's fantastic. I play with it all the time. It's probably the best bot that I've seen made, and there's been a lot of them I've messed around with, but this one just it really is. It understands people in a way. Like you can take a story. We've made some stories with it, and it's written out a story that's been really bland, and then to be able to say, take that story and say, add romance to it and a bit of adventure, and for it to understand that and turn a story into, and just change the words and keep the same story. That's stuff that people do. We spread our minds and the way we write and describe things. For it to do that and understand those words is really, really clever. A lot of it is menial stuff, and that's great too, because to be able to write bios and stuff for YouTube, that's fantastic. I do like the art. I think the art's wonderful. The only thing I am concerned about, of course, is where they're getting the art from, and there are a bunch of class action suits going on at the moment, which is going to be fascinating to see how that pans out, because I think, like everything else, there should be explicit. They should be asking for explicit permission to use people's art before doing it, instead of just scraping. I don't remember signing any terms and conditions for a lot of the things like Midjourney, so that's a concern because it was in beta.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that's a concern. And by the way, if we want to take a step back, so ChatGPT is from OpenAI, and that is a AI text generation tool that you give it a prompt and it spits out something. So you can say, what I just did. In fact, if you're watching the video version, I can give you an example. I just said, write an introduction for a podcast episode about music creation featuring Jade Starr and Pete Johns. And you can see on the screen there, welcome to episode of podcast where we explore the art and craft of music creation. In this episode, we have a special treat for our listeners as we sit down with two incredibly talented musicians, Jade Starr and Pete Johns, and it goes on like that. So
It's
you
brilliant.
can get it. It's exactly like it gets rid of the grunt work of having to just piece together that stuff. So you just say, I want to write a thing about this and this and this, and is that going to be perfect? Am I going to go leading in with that? Well, no, because it didn't really understand that I was one of the hosts, so it's kind of made it third person. So I'd need to say, rewrite this, but from Pete Johns' perspective, and it does stuff like that. So pretty darn cool. And things like Midjourney and other AI artwork, things that Jade was talking about, is where you do the same sort of thing. You give it a text prompt and it creates a piece of artwork based on that. And the legal challenges and I guess the copyright issues we're going to face in the future are, how does that work in terms of, if I use AI to create an album artwork and it does it based on someone else's art who hasn't given permission to that platform to scrape that art and to use it, am I infringing on their artwork, even though it's not exactly their artwork? It is a piece of artwork based on the style or a piece of artwork that they had put out there. So it's a slippery slope, and I think, as Jade mentioned about 10 minutes ago, it's all about, we need to develop this. So we need to develop the framework around this, because there's so much. And look, it's moving fast, and all these things are in beta, and all these things are being tested, but we need to move quickly to, I guess, not to put a bunch of restrictions around them, but at least to understand what some of the implications may be. Because the next thing will be, as we've started to see, I don't know if you've seen these, but like AI voice. So there's a lot of now, famously, and I called him Sarah Jessica Parker, but it's James L. Jones, who's the voice of Darth Vader, that he's actually licensed his voice to be used after he dies, so that all of his family are going to keep getting royalties. So he will be Darth Vader for the foreseeable future, even though he can't say any of these words. So they can add new words because they've got every bit of him. They can get an AI engine to say, make James Earl Jones say, come down to Steve's bait shop for all of your bait needs next time you go fishing. Which
they'll be selling, answering messages, all that kind of stuff. They'll be doing, but the problem is too with it. We're seeing it now with it, all these lawsuits. This is because the people in charge are not moving fast enough. Yeah. We shouldn't have lawsuits. We should have people on the pulse in power in government who are paying attention to the way the world's moving, and put these things in place so we don't have to get to the point where somebody has to get sued, somebody has to lose money, somebody's family doesn't eat out of this. This is the dumb way to do it. We need to have people forward thinking. I know that's a horrible thing for politicians to understand, forward thinking, and I'm not trying to get political. I'm not going either side or anywhere. But, you know, because suing people isn't the way to get around this. It's not. Now, derivation is a thing that's been around forever. Look at the iPhone. It's just everything's a copy of a copy of a copy. So I don't mind them scraping images from the internet and recreating things from that. But when you're just scraping the image and putting that out, that's wrong. That's completely wrong. And that's where the case is going to be. So there needs to be these things put in place for these companies, because the problem is, because they've just gone out and done beta straight away and everyone's just joined these betas and slowly it's become a thing. It's no longer in beta. There's been no structure put in place, and they're already charging for it. You know, I'm paying like $10.99 a month for Mid-Journey, so there really is no structure. I could probably sue them, so they're not covering their asses, and that's the wrong way to do it.
Yeah, it is. It's a slippery slope, and I think it can. The two ways, neither of them are right. You could go down the Disney copyright way, where it's like, let's just keep dragging our heels and making everything copyright, and never opening up anything ever, and suing the pants off of anyone that ever tries to use anything in any derivative. Or you can go the complete other way, where it's free for all. It's complete freedom of speech, freedom of everything. And I think people get very confused when it comes to freedom, because freedom of speech and freedom of action doesn't mean freedom of consequence. And I think that's where we're at the moment, that so many people are just out there doing, not thinking. And you know what I blame? I blame agile. You ever worked in the corporate world for a while, but towards the end of my corporate life, it was all about agile and minimum viable product and having these sprints, and all you wanted to do, and seriously, like, as someone who worked in sales and marketing teams and customer experience teams in particular, these agile people that would just want to get this minimal viable product out the door without considering the legal implications, without considering the impact to customer experience, was just phenomenal. And I think we're seeing that now, where it's the speed of progress is so quick that the administrators, who are notoriously slow, can't keep up with it. So
it reminds me of the scene from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You know, when they roll in and you've got, we'll press a rubber stamp here and send you to the back of the line. It's just that is the people in power. Everything's just on go slow. And but nothing's changed. People have been talking about this stuff this isn't anything new. Yeah, people, they've been holding their foot on the gas brake forever. You know, we're still using coins and paper money in some countries. How ridiculous! It's the biggest germ carrying thing on the planet. When we've just had a pandemic and people are like, go out and spend money. Here's some paper that carries germs. Ridiculous.
I'm looking to go back to the US again soon, and I'm just like, the dollar bills and the pennies. I'm pre-sad about the fact that I'm going to have a pocket full of dollar bills and pennies, because it's just the most ridiculous.
It's horrible. I'll tell you what, the worst thing about America is, by the time I left, the amount of pennies I had. I was just like, and you can't give them to anyone.
No.
They're like a flu. Nobody wants them.
I know. Walk past the guy's like, hey, buddy, you got a handout? And you put a pile of pennies in the hand. Like, no. You got any folding hand? Oh, no. Anyway, hello to all of our American friends. 40% of you that listen to this are from the US, so hopefully you haven't all been super offended and are leaving us now.
I love America.
I love America too. We're gonna continue on here, 'cause we've got a bunch of different topics to talk about. So that was our main topic, and we could probably fill a whole hour just talking about the ins and outs of AI. I think I agree with Jade. Like, it's a tool. Use it, don't use it, but I wouldn't lose too much sleep about the fact that it's going to be the whole T2 experience, and we're all doomed. I think, just use it if you want, but I don't think it's going to take our jobs anytime soon. Let's talk about online music communities, because I alluded to it at the start, that you and I met as part of, well, not met as part. I think you originally found me because I think you say I was a funny little man that was talking about something to do with GarageBand or something or other. But you quickly sort of joined the similar places like the GarageBand users Facebook group, and later Create, Record, Release, which is the Studio Live Today. You've got your own Facebook group now. We've both got Discord servers. There's Reddit. There's all of these forums and all these places that you can go. What's your experience, and what have you seen change, I guess, in online music communities over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, where it's really sort of hit its strides?
It's weird, because I used to, only 2 years ago, I was a big part of it. And now I don't feel so much a part of the groups and stuff because
Yep.
I've got this.
Yeah.
Where every day I can reach out and communicate this way. But what is fantastic is that it continues on, and there's more and more people coming in and sharing their music and sharing their ideas. Occasionally, you do get those people that join Mr. Negative Poopy Pants, who's just everything that's said is like, but this is poopy. And it's like, dude, shut up. Really? Can't you go somewhere else and cry? Like, come on, build people up. No, but I do love it,
Yep.
and it's what's really encouraging. Even here on YouTube, Facebook, everyone's really encouraging, and you don't necessarily like all the music that you hear that people make. Yeah, I don't like everything,
Yeah.
but it costs nothing to tell somebody that
Yeah.
they're doing good, and it costs nothing too to be constructive with your criticism.
Yep.
And so it's not a. I do wish there would be more constructive criticism too.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of that. That's why I did a show with you on it and stuff to open
Yeah.
that conversation. But it is hard because with text, you can't always get across exactly what you're saying, and people get offended really easy. Where
Yeah.
on a medium like this, if you're talking to someone, you hear their song, you can say, well, firstly, don't get offended because I love you, and you can really portray that. So I think being out on YouTube, I find it much more enjoyable than the text communities these days. But I do love seeing them shine, and I think it's a there is an abundance of them. Sometimes it can get a bit overwhelming. Discord and TikTok and everything.
Yeah.
It's probably why I'm not so active on them all anymore. But I
Yeah.
do read them. I'm there every day reading everyone's comments. I hit a like here and there. But I just love that people are doing it. And, wow, we live in it. We live in the future, as you always say. To see so many
Yeah.
people sharing and being able to talk about music and have a space to do this, we're in such a good place for music. I wish the rest of the world could. Mr. Smith said it on my interview. He wishes the rest of the world. Oh, was it Mr. Smith? No, who said it? Yeah. Or was it? I can't remember. They were both so awesome, the things they said. But I wish the rest of the world could keep up with this music community that we have. It was probably Folk Punk who said it, actually. It was Folk Punk. Because we are way ahead of the world in decency and communication and understanding and kindness and being critical at the right time. But the rest of the world seems so vicious and horrible. These communities are great.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I've found, and again, you can find everything. I guess is the other part of it. So there's definitely good, bad, and a lot of stuff in between it. But yeah, I've kind of found the same over the last few years, and I think I know originally I felt really bad, and I felt sort of some guilt that I wasn't as involved because early on, especially the GarageBand users Facebook group. So to give some context on this channel, at the time when the GarageBand users Facebook group sort of first started about 5 years ago, I was doing this YouTube channel, but we had about 5,000 subscribers here. There are 1,000 people on GarageBand users Facebook group. I knew most of them, and I was interactive with a lot of stuff that was going on there. And unfortunately, just the scale of things, like you say, there's a lot of different forums now. There's Reddit, and there's Discord, and there's Clubhouse, and there's all these places where you can interact with people. And I think it's easy. The other day I went into my Instagram, and I go to my Instagram rarely, but I went to my Instagram instant messages, and there were people in there messaging me and then re-messaging me like 2 hours later, demanding a response and giving me grief because I hadn't responded yet. And I think I'm like, oh yeah, because some people live in this world where everyone has notifications on and everyone's responding to everything, and people consider like an Instagram instant message like a text message or like a phone call, or where you should be responding immediately, and if you don't, you hate me and that sort of thing. And I don't know, I think that the best part about online communities is that there's a lot of people in there and everyone's at different stages. So there are people now I know in the GarageBand users Facebook group that weren't the original people that were helping out. Like back in our day, it was you and me and Ron Ward and Steve and Jude and all these guys. We probably don't have all that time now, but the next generation come up because they've learnt from us, hopefully,
Yeah.
and then they're helping out the next lot, and then they come up and they're helping out. So I think the reason I like the communities is that rather than coming to me and getting frustrated when I don't respond directly to you in my Instagram messages, and hello to anyone who's got a message pending in there, I'm sorry. Come on to the live shows, ask your questions here. I'll usually be able to answer, but yeah, just go to these communities and you'll find that there's a lot of people there that will help you out as a beginner. And then once you get to that intermediate or advanced, it helps you learn. To teach is to learn, because the more people you can help, the more it will embed that information in your head. And it was fun. You had Al Night Train 1988 on your show today, and you were talking about different tips and techniques, and he said, I'm using the Pete Johns vocal thickening technique, and I had to quickly jump in and say, which was completely lifted from the Warren Hewitt vocal thickening technique, and I'm sure someone will take that and turn it into the someone else vocal thickening technique. So it's about just learning, and I think once you teach something, you can learn it. And now Al might take that, adapt it, and then teach someone else in another community about how to do that, and someone is going to be inspired by that. So that's my view on these things. And I think my number one tip is that don't feel pressured. Don't feel like levels of participation can be anything from 0% to 100%. And I think sometimes people feel guilty that they're not in there participating, answering questions and doing things.
Yeah.
So
I do too. I lately I have been feeling guilty. I read everything. I scroll through everything and read it, but you just don't have the time. And see, I'm different to you. You don't have any notifications on.
Yeah.
You are the most unnotificated person on the planet. I have all notifications on across a million iPads in my room, and they all go bling, bling, bling. I finally learnt to put them all on Do Not Disturb except my phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get so many notifications, and I do read, but I just don't have the time to answer. It's even like with comments here on YouTube. I know you're a stickler for comment. I don't know how you do it, but I kind of do it every 3 days. I let everything build up, and then I go doof, 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 doof all through them, because I find, because I get so many notifications during the day, if I answer one, I lose my place of where I am. So if I just let them go and then choose my day, and like last night I did it before bed. I think I responded to like 45 comments and just dun 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 dun, done, all done.
Yeah.
When I do it at various times, I'm not good at that. I lose my place.
Yeah.
And we all have our ways of doing these things, and mine
to
are
their
often
own.
wrong. Mine are often wrong, and you know what? That's okay, because you can teach an old dog new tricks.
It's true, and there's room to move and change and grow and do all those sort of things. But I think the reason I want to mention this is, number one, if you're not part of online music communities, get involved, and there's plenty that we'd recommend. If you go to studiolivetoday.com, there's links to all the ones that I would recommend there. Jade's got her We All Rise Together, Your Warts, which you have on Discord as well as Facebook. So there's plenty of places where you can hang out with cool people. But I guess the second point of that is, A, don't be offended if everyone's not going to have the same level of participation that you do, and B, you do you. Like, also don't feel any pressure yourself to participate at a level that someone else may be, because it'll come and go. You'll have days and weeks where you just spend the entire day just chatting with people and having fun and having a good old time, and then you'll need a day off, and that's absolutely fine. So don't beat yourself up when you have those days off as well.
Can I say also, please remember too, when you leave a comment to somebody, we all live in different parts of the world. So you may be leaving a comment for somebody who's asleep, right? And so just give them at least 12 hours. They could get back to you. You know what I'm saying? Because I get messages all through the night, and I'm a night owl as it is, and I barely get any sleep. And it doesn't help when I'm getting messages and I feel pressured to answer at 4 a.m. Give me 2 more hours. I'll be awake soon. Trust me.
It is true, and again, that's why I went the full cold turkey, no notifications a while ago, and life is beautiful. Just saying, but people won't want to be like me. There is the whole FOMO thing. Some people simply can't do it. Like I used to teach people in my team when I ran teams in corporate worlds, and the first thing I'd say to them is, when you're working on a project, I would recommend that you go to your Outlook, and there's a little button that says, do not pop a little notification up on my screen every time an email comes in, because you will lose focus. You'll see what that email is, that little tab tantalizing one-liner will make you click on that. You'll go into that. You'll realize it's BS that you don't have to do anything with. You'll come back to the task and you'll go, what was I doing again? Maybe I'll just go check my emails and see if there's anything interesting over there. Oh, look, something shiny. So, but again, I reckon in my 20 years in the corporate world, I think maybe 1 or 2 people out of many hundreds actually did that, because everyone has the FOMO. They don't want to miss out on something that might be a thing, so they want the notifications. But and again, you do you, whatever works for you. Speaking of which, this segues nicely again to something that you mentioned here. We're doing a live stream right now. There are folks here on YouTube that some are probably feeling good because they feel engaged, they feel part of a community. Someone might have left a comment here that we haven't responded to, and now they're feeling angry because we're not paying attention to them. Some people may have said hello to every single person in the chat by name. Some people may have said blanket hello. Some people may be in lurk mode. Some people may be having this on in another room while they're making a delicious pizza for dinner. All of those things are okay, apart from maybe feeling angry about us not responding because it's not personal. What was your thoughts on this? Why did you want to chat about live stream chat etiquette, and what do you think should and shouldn't go on here?
Firstly, I understand we live in times where there's a lot of anxiety in the world at the moment. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, there's a lot of depression and there's a lot of pressure all the time. And I just want people to know that if you're in my stream, or I think other people's streams, don't feel the need that you have to participate and always let people know that you're there. I try now to say, when I don't always remember because I'm terrible, that hello to everybody. And if you're lurking too, that's okay. Hello to you as well, because lurking's all right. You know, you don't need to say hello because it can get really overwhelming with the amount of hellos. And I wanted to bring this up because hellos, yeah? Because there's some times where there'll be, for an instance, a premiere on, and 10 minutes later another premiere, and then a live stream that goes for an hour, and then after that hour, 10 minutes later, there's another live stream like Hippie that goes for 6 hours. And it's so entertaining watching everybody go from one stream to the other and all say hello again to each other when we all just said hello to each other only a few seconds ago. But we've all got to do it. And you know what? I really think we, as a community, we should talk about this and say, it's okay to say, hi, everyone. Yeah. And you don't need to individually do it, because, like, I'm going to just go out and say it. There was an instance with somebody, of course I'm not going to name who they are. I didn't know that I missed some of their hellos. They sent me an email calling me, they called me and they called me everything under the sun and said that I was a complete piece of rubbish and they're never going to come back to my stream again because I didn't say hello to them. And it was really upsetting because I've tried to say hello to as many people as I can, and it turned out that I didn't say hello to this person in somebody else's stream. And I don't even know if I was in the toilet getting something to eat. Like, I'm not glued to the screen. None of us are. So be kinder to each other, and it's okay, guys. Just a blanket hello. If you can't be bothered or you just don't have the energy, a blanket hello is fine. And please don't get upset, because we're all different. We're all going through different things, health-wise, mental-wise. Just be kind and let it go. It's just a hello. That's my new catchphrase.
Let it go.
Let it go. It's just a hello.
There you go. Oh, look, that rhymes too. It's like ChatGPT wrote us this rhymes. I like it. Yeah, and I think, look, and there's probably someone that might sit there thinking, oh no, now I feel bad because I'm the one that says hello to everyone. More power to you. It doesn't actually bother. Like, when you see the chat scrolling through, it doesn't affect either way. I think what we're saying here is just don't have that, like, you do you, but don't have the same expectations on others that you may have on yourself, and don't feel pressured if you don't feel like it, if you don't feel in the mood, because otherwise, yeah, like you say, you can spend all of your time just carefully going through the chat trying to find every single name of every single person and saying hello to them. It just, yeah, it makes things challenging. I'm sure. I don't do it, but I'm sure it can't be pleasant after a while. I love that everyone in these live streams, and look, it's the same across Twitch and the same across YouTube. And I think Gregory O'Sullivan, who's here on the live stream, said it well, which is that it doesn't scale well, because in a little, like, we're recording this in front of about 30 or 40 people live on YouTube. Yeah, that's okay. If 30 or 40 people all say hello to each other, I mean, sure, you're going to have several hundred messages by the time you get that all done. But what if there's 100 people watching? What if there's 1,000 people watching? It really doesn't scale that well. So I get it. I like it. I love the community. I don't want anyone to feel bad or to think that either of us are saying, hey, don't do what you want to do. I think it's absolutely fine. But again, to your example, and I've had similar examples where people think I'm not paying them enough attention, it's just not physically possible to do that in these sort of environments. So, and I guess it's because, you know what, as humans, we come from a one-to-one conversation. We're used to it. And if you and I are doing our jobs well, it'll feel like a one-to-one conversation when we're doing a live stream sometimes. And that's great. But it can also then feel a bit weird when you've got like a one-to-one conversation, but it feels like you're yelling into a vacuum because the other person's not responding directly to you because it's actually a one-to-many conversation. And remember, in the past, this was all a consumption. So Jade and I would be on TV and you'd be literally talking at your TV screen, talking to no one. So it's a very new type of medium to actually have the ability to do a live show and have live interaction with people. So I don't know, just everyone relax and cut yourself some slack and we'll all be fine, I reckon.
Could you imagine watching the news at night and it comes on, it's like, welcome to the 5 o'clock news, and you're sitting there in your lounge room going, hello, Pete Smith. And he didn't say hello to me. That's it. I'm changing to Channel 7. I'm never coming back. But, that's an extreme example. But it's like when I do the interviews, Pete, one of the things that I think people like, hopefully they like my interviews, I try to, in that moment, because it's 2 hours and it's a long time. But when you're actually interviewing somebody, it's not a long time. That 2 hours flies by. And I want to dedicate every moment I can to that person who's on the interview. Yep. I want to focus on them because I'm highlighting them. It's their 2 hours for them to shine as bright as they possibly can. And if I'm sitting there for the first 10, 15 minutes saying hello to everybody, then they're sitting there going, what about me? What about me? So I try and gamify it. I wait till half an hour into the stream. We've got to know the person a little bit. We've heard a couple of songs. And then I get everybody, instead of me scrolling through, I just say, right, if you want your name called out, type anything stupid in the chat and I'll read it out. And that creates the interaction of people, because people will write anything stupid and all that stuff. And they'll write literally anything stupid. But that makes it fun as well. And it doesn't need to be a hello and all that kind of stuff, and everybody gets addressed, gets called out. And if you don't want to get called out, that's okay too, because I watch a lot of shows on Ron, and not so much Ron because I have to moderate and stuff, but Hippie, I'll sit there for most of the show and have it on in the background and not say a word. I don't need to. I'm enjoying the music. I've hit the like, I've done my job, and then I'll pop in maybe 3 hours in and say hi, and then go back to doing what I need to do. But, I love you all. And Megan, I'm going to say hello to you all the time. She left a comment in there, so it's for going to a comment.
And we've got Puck Jones, hello from Lurkland, no response required. See, that's the way, because Jade and I are contrarians generally. We'll probably more likely to respond if you say don't respond to this. Yeah. It's why I named a segment Play by Firebeat, because it's kind of the juxtaposition of that I'm like, all the people that ask me to play their Firebeat will never get it played, but then we just get someone that can have one of their songs played. Sorry, some of these references are going to be a little bit deep cut, but that just means that you need to watch more of our stuff. You need to be more part of the community and watch Jade's shows and my shows. All of them. No, or don't. At the end of the day, or don't, which is also fine. Do what makes you happy. Do what makes you happy. Speaking of what makes you happy and what makes you happy with other people, collaborating with others, Jade, you've done a lot of it. You've been in 1,000 different bands and 1,000 different projects with different people all the time. We'll do a few sort of turbo topics here because we've got about 15 minutes left. So in terms of collaborating with others, a lot of people out there are doing it for the first time. Maybe they're considering doing it. Maybe you're like, oh, is it too scary? How do I actually go about it? What are your tips for someone doing it for the first time? For first time, for collaboration virgin. Wait, can I say that on YouTube? If you're collaborating for the first time, what is Jade's hot tips for you to get it done?
Tip 1, don't ask me. All right? Because I am the worst person to collaborate with. I'm always late. Everything's always delayed. I don't have enough time. I would love to collaborate with everybody. I wish I could, but I am an egotistical, self-involved Virgo who overprocesses everything, and I'm a terrible person to collaborate with. who you should collaborate with is as many different people as possible. I think people who don't align with your styles, people who may not align with who you would typically hang out with, because you're going to be pleasantly surprised all the time. You'll find if you stick to the same groups of people that do the same thing as you, you're going to just be releasing the same kind of stuff that you're already doing. So reach out to people that, or like somebody who you may not, you may have seen. That person I'd have never seen in a collaboration before. Like I've been trying to encourage some people to reach out to someone like Dwight Bailey recently, get him involved in something. And, you know, even if you may think he's someone like Dwight's unable to contribute to an entire song, just getting him to do a part or something, including more people who you see aren't involved in things like that. People who aren't you. Yeah. Try and find different kinds of people, because that's just going to add beautiful color and things that you won't expect. And, you know, it's so easy to do these days. And to try and just the last thing I'll suggest is communication. Let people know that you're running behind. Don't be afraid. Don't do me. Because I do this all the time. I dwell on it and go, I'm running behind. Now I don't know how to tell the person. So I'll just let it go and fester. And then it gets worse. And then I finally go, I'm so sorry. I've let this go behind because I felt so guilty. Just let someone know. It's like the hellos. Just, I'm running a bit behind. This has come up. No problem. 3 key things. There you go.
Beautiful. I told you to be quick, and you were spot on quick. Yeah, I think so. And I'll just add to that some of my favorite collaborations are where like Auntie G and Gary Hubbs will get together. I'm just like, that's 2 artists that I didn't think would ever get together, and they create. Well, Marcus Cadell's doing stuff with Auntie G. Auntie G's doing a lot of cool stuff lately. Who's Gertrude, by the way, one of the great artists that we featured on Your Music Live and is part of the community. Again, I know I try not, whenever we make a reference that I know that folks won't understand. If you're like listening to this podcast for the first time, you're like, who are these two and why do they keep referencing funny names? It's because there's a lot of very cool members of this community that create really cool music, and again, join us, become one of us, won't you? Maybe so Deep Gravity here in the live chat, maybe I'll do a collab with Yoko Ono. There you go. I think that could work well. Deep Gravity and Yoko
No,
Ono.
Rhett, I don't want to do an accordion punk album. Sorry, mate. Maybe do Pete. Pete's doing punk at the moment. Pete's doing punk.
There you go. Speaking of accordions, you gave me a good tip, which is something that I thought I'd share here as well. You said that you saw something cool with Weird Al Yankovic during the week. What was that all about?
So Auntie Donna, they're this hilarious Australian comedy trio. Not everybody's cup of tea because their humor's quite bizarre. They swear a lot. They use the C word a lot. But they had a massive Netflix special too. So if you haven't checked that out, it's really weird, very weird humor. So if you're into weird stuff, but speaking of weird too, they had, on their latest podcast, they had Weird Al Yankovic on, and there's a clip of it on YouTube, I think. And they were writing a parody song, and they got Weird Al to be like a special guest to help them write a song. But all the songs they were written were terrible. They didn't rhyme. They didn't make any sense. And Weird Al just totally crapped all over them, told them how useless they were. It's so funny.
Very cool.
It's so good seeing Weird Al tell some of my favorite comedians that they're rubbish. I love it.
Very cool. So, if you want to find that, Auntie Donna, AUNTY space DONNA, Australian comedians. They've got about 500,000 subscribers. They're doing pretty well over there on the YouTubes. So go and check out that clip. But more to remind me to go and watch it afterwards. So I've brought it up here, and I've shared the link on the live show. But I'm terrible at remembering to put things in the show notes. So if you're listening on the podcast or you're watching the replay, it's probably not going to be there. But if you're here in like January 2023 or adjacent, go and search them out and find out what's going on. One more quick topic, and then we're going to do a quick question chime before we finish up, because we have had a few interesting questions come through from the folks here live. So if you got any other questions for me or Jade, chuck them in the live chat now, and we'll get to that in just a moment. You've been dabbling in ads lately, Jade. You've been selling your soul to the devil and dabbling in some Google ads and been having some good success. And a lot of musicians and creators of music and videos probably don't even think about the fact that you can do stuff outside of just organically promoting and pushing your stuff out there. Do you want to give us the quick heads up on your experience so far dabbling in the Google Ads universe?
Absolutely. I recommend it. and I'll give you some tips that I've learnt from the ads that I've run. I first heard about it from Frank Terzo when I interviewed him. He said he's been doing it for his songs and was like, ooh, interesting. Then I spoke to Francis Damasio, and he said that he's been doing it for his songs. And so I did a show about it. There's actually a show on my channel where I set up my first ads and experimented and showed the whole process of how to do it. So you just go to Google and search for Google Ads. It'll take you to the Google Ads website, and you just log in with your YouTube account, the email that you use to log in. Very simple stuff to do. And so I ran a couple of ads for my Metheist band, and that stormed it. It got so many views. I think all up I got 3,500 views. But I learned very quickly that I ran that campaign way too long. I ran it for 5 days. And you don't need to spend a lot of money. So be very clear on this. This new campaign I'm running, I'm spending virtually nothing. Don't get sucked into thinking more money will get more views. The first campaigns I ran $5 a day for, I think, 6 days. So that was a fair bit of money. And I ran the same. So basically, I pointed the ads to appear on a bunch of bands like Slayer videos, Metallica, all that kind of stuff. And the second ad I ran was the same, less money for $2 a day, but instead I targeted it with keywords to see what the difference was. Clearly, the targeted videos did much better. So this time around, I'm running 3 ads currently on 2 Dread Circus songs. I'm running $1 a day, so dirt cheap, over 3 days. And I'm running one on my video of the best top 20 apps for 2020, which is a 2-hour show. So that's a hard view to get people to watch a 2-hour show. But it's where I'm targeting them, because I'm targeting them on your channel. So people on your channel will be getting the ads for that, because you've got to target things to similar places. So I'm targeting them to Patrick over at the Garage Band Guide, I think Ron Ward, I think Jacob Hack, a whole bunch of people who do similar stuff. And it's working. In the last 1.5 days, all 3 videos have nearly had 1,000 views on them. And the watch time's surprisingly good. I mean, that's why I'm saying run short. Don't do 5 days, run 2 days, 2 or 3 days, because the more time you spend running the ads, this is where you get, unfortunately, less watch time. So you're getting more views, but you're getting less watch time, and that affects your channel. So just do it for a day or 2, and you'll get lots of views for long watch time, and that will work for you. But yeah, it's definitely a thing to do, and it really increases engagement. And this time around, for these 3 ads, just on 2 days, I think I got so far like 17 new subscribers as well. So nice.
There you go.
$12.
Worth a shot. Worth trying. And hey, the ad that you see right now, if you watch the replay, may have actually been a Jade Starr ad. So there you go. You'll get to experiment with that and see if that did pop up as a Jade ad if you watched it on this one. And again, I think I have a weird relationship with ads because I actually like targeted ads. I know I sound like a bit of a weirdo, but I let everything track me and know what I like, because I don't know, I've been on the internet long enough to know that there is no privacy on the internet. And if I don't have that, I get ads for freaking America's Got Talent and Big Brother and the reality TV show The Bachelors and whatever else is going on, and I would rather have an ad for Jade or for Patrick or for some cool audio app or for Rode microphones or something like that to pop up. If I'm going to have to watch an ad, make it something relevant to me. So again, I know that advertising is like a 4-letter word for some people, and everyone wants ad blockers, and everyone doesn't think it's it's all commercialized and all that sort of thing. But yeah, sometimes you need to reach beyond the organic and try something a little bit different. And you might grab yourself a different audience. So some good advice there, and something I need to take, because I don't do any advertising for Studio Live today, and I know I'm leaving views on the table by doing that or not doing that, as the case may be. Should we dive into question time? We've got some
Sure.
wacky questions. There's really nothing here that is going to take a lot of brain power, I don't think.
Perfect for me.
Insulting the audience in the first one. Tremor Bear, we're talking about live stream. Tremor Bear's got an interesting one here. Who's your favourite moderator? Who's your favourite moderator?
It's Thomas
on my show?
Christ.
It's Thomas Christ. It goes without saying.
He's
So
the king.
that was low hanging fruit. That was easiest. And by the way, check out last week's podcast if you want to know who Thomas Christ is, because he was our special guest on episode 3. Question here from Dan Ekberg. Did anyone notice that you can hold your finger on someone or a group in the foreground and can now copy and paste without the background? How long has that been in iOS? Yeah. So this is
amazing.
in the photos
It's great.
thing. You've played around with that, Jay?
I use it every day, every single day. Some things I can't use it for. I use the background eraser app. That's really good for quick stuff. But yeah, you can do it from Safari. So you can just open Safari and just grab on a photo of a person within that photo and hold down till they pop out, and then keep your finger on it. And you can even hit the home screen, keep your finger on it, and then open another app and drop it into another app. It works really, really good.
If you've never tried it before, here's a picture of me crossing the bridge at Granite Island here in South Australia. And yeah, look, little Pete just pops out, and you can move him around. I can throw him into other apps, as Jade said. You can kind of go and use that wherever you like. So yeah, I use Canva and you use like background eraser apps, there's ways to do it. But hey, if it's built right into iOS 16, it's probably safe to say it's the only feature in iOS 16 that I actually use. That's new. You've got another thing to show us here, Jade?
I was trying to do it with, it doesn't work with the Photos app for some reason, when you're streaming, I can probably do it.
Yes.
Yeah, I just tried it.
Yeah.
It's the new, I'm not going to complain about it because it's already pissed me off. For streaming, Pete, they've offered this thing where you can, drag things across onto other screens. But for live streaming now, it creates this new section in the. That's very frustrating. Very frustrating.
It is. Yeah, with the good comes the bad. So if you want to play around with that anyway, iOS 16 or iPadOS 16, and they're okay now. 16.3, the latest one.
iOS 16 is great.
Pretty stable. The first version was not. 16.0 was bad, but if you're thinking of upgrading now, you're safe to go. The Mixed Club here. What's your thoughts on turning off the chat for your streams? I like to watch what you are doing and learn. I have thought about this in mine. I have a buddy that gets peed for real if I don't say hi. Yeah, I mean, there is the option again. Live streams do not have to have chat, and there's plenty of people who do live streams without either acknowledging the chat or without even having chat enabled. Would you ever consider cutting off your audience and doing a live stream without chat?
No. I have a members thing on my channel too, so I offer people $1 a month to become a member, and and I make emojis with their faces in it. I want people to enjoy the chat like, when you're at a sporting event and it's got really boring and somebody's bought a beach ball and they start throwing it around. That's what I want my chat to be. The beach balls getting thrown around. They don't have to pay attention to me if they don't want to. As long as they're having fun and they can entertain themselves, like that's what I care about, and thankfully my chat's good with that. And I do try and pay attention, but ultimately I'm trying to educate people, so I'm trying to get through as much as I possibly can without keeping them there too long, which I know I go too long all the time. But no, I couldn't turn it off. I would be lost without it because I like interacting with people. It's part of the show.
Yeah, no, and look, it is. I must admit, when I do, I do some live streams, and I'll say this. So if I'm recording, especially if I'm recording a tutorial and I'm doing it as part of a live stream, I'll say, hey, for the next 10 minutes, I'm not looking at the live stream, and I'll literally turn it off on my end, so people are still continuing to chat amongst themselves, so that I can focus. So if I'm doing a top 5 GarageBand tips for 2023 or something like that, I'll want to record that and just go straight through without because sometimes you just see something, and you know this when you're demonstrating something, you'll see something in the chat and it'll just completely distract you, or it'll throw you off, and you'll be trying desperately to show a feature, and then you'll be like, oh wait, what did that person say? Have I said something wrong? Have I done something wrong? What's going on? So yeah.
The worst thing, because now I'm doing shorts every day, right? I've got into this habit of, so I finish my stream, I immediately download the short, I keep it for later, then I chop up part of the short, and then I release that 12 hours after the show to try and push people over to the show to watch the full thing. But what I've found is, and I've had to learn to not do it, there'll be a part in the show where it was really good, and I'm like, and you just do this, and then I, out of the blue, go, hello, Falcon Blueser, and then you do... And there's just a random hello in there, and I'm like, no! So I've got to stop doing that and focus on what I'm doing because it ruins my short. And I want my short. I don't want to have to chop the short,
Yeah.
So there's that as well.
Yeah. No, it is hard. I've got the same sort of thing because I like to clip up some of my things, and yeah, sometimes the editing I have to do because I'll be halfway through explaining something and then have to chop out a giant chunk. And sometimes I'm doing and talking over it, and it's like, well, it's impossible to edit it. So now I try to be a bit more consistent around that. A couple more questions here because we are quickly approaching the end of the show here. Mr. Smith says, "What question would you like me to ask? Whatever
All
you
of
like."
them.
All of them, only good ones. And he also says, if asked, what question would make you question being questioned? I think that's a question for another day. Barry
42.
42 is the answer to everything. Barry says, how can I auto-tune one word asking for a friend? How do you auto-tune one word? So Barry's friend has got one word, so one word in a whole vocal
Barry.
passage that doesn't have that doesn't hit the spot right. How would you go about that, Jade? Auto-tuning just the one word.
I would take that one word. I would split it.
Yep.
Split it on either side. I'd duplicate the track and I would drag that one word down into a separate track and add the auto tune on there. Does that sound right, Pete?
Spot on. Well, that's what I'd do. Using the tools, I know that there's some tools like you can automate auto tune. So if you're using Melodyne and like higher end stuff, but for us, for
GarageBand,
for GarageBand users, which I know that Barry uses, then yeah, just duplicating it out. And it's the same with automation, if anything. So if you want that, that punk rock delay, lay on the very last word, you can actually do the same sort of thing. So just take that one word, have two tracks, have your regular vocal track, and then have your auto tune vocal track, or have your regular vocal track and have your vocal effect track, and just use a second track and slot it in there and you'll be good to go.
Speaking of, I can let people know there's a killer app coming out in about a week and a half's time. It's Melodyne and it's an AUV3 and it's coming for iOS. You can use it in anything and it's really good. I've been using it. It's really sick. Finally, somebody has made it. It's not the Melodyne, but it is exactly that, what it does. You can move the little notes around and everything. It's going to be so good. I'm very excited.
Yes, that's what you need, because a lot of other apps have already had. So the Cubasis, for instance, has a much better auto. Even BandLab has a better auto tune than GarageBand. But it would be good to have an AUV because there hasn't really been a good. There's been standalone auto tune apps for iOS, but there's never been a good AUV3 auto tune.
I did a good one a couple of weeks ago, auto tune, but it's still
that.
auto tune, but not a Melodyne where you can actually take. Like it turns your voice into like MIDI notes that you can move it. That's the power that we need.
That's the gold. That's what you need, and you can just Actually, I did see that because you showed one where you can even put the key in there, and it can either have. You were playing with me. I remember saying if every show included my music in it, then I'd just watch you every day, Jade. But
but that was just an auto tune kind of thing. But
but there's options. But there you go, Barry. That's how I do it. Split it, copy it, good to go. Can you believe that's an hour? Like it flies by. Well, time flies when you're having fun. We did have some other topics, but they'll be for another day. But before we finish up here, coming up this week on Studio Live today, we got the usual suspects. We've got a happy hour coming, and we've got an opening hour. Jade will tell you about our opening hour in a moment. We have a happy hour here where I'm doing Nirvana and Foo Fighters songs. So I'm doing all the Dave Grohl that you can handle on the happy hour. They've got Your Music Live. So if you're an independent artist and you want to see what others are doing or submit your own songs for Your Music Live, you can check that show out on the channel as well. And GarageBand Weekly, I'll be writing some lyrics for the new song that I've been working on in GarageBand over the last couple of weeks. So lots coming up this weekend for you to tune in to. Jade Starr, what's happening with you over the next week over on How to App on iOS?
I got a premiere tomorrow, like I have every Saturday here in Australia, Friday for the rest of the world. So premiere the best of the opening hour clip. It is nonconformist, I think, this week. Opening hour this week is part 2 of the random karaoke jukebox because people like that so much. Next week, instead of an interview, I'm really excited. You can see there, I am doing a special event. I'm doing the album launch for Vero's new album, The Wheel of Emotions. Super excited to have the premiere of Vero because she's amazing. Her music's brilliant. Russ found her on YouTube and we've all fallen in love with Vero, so that's really cool. And I'll give you a scoop. I will be taking a look at the brand new IK Multimedia iRig microphone that will appear in my hot little hands in the next day, hopefully. And Next month on the channel, I'm interviewing Russ8889's mum, Dot.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah.
If you thought all the weird references and deep cuts were one thing, we're now interviewing the mum of
Yes.
a contributor to your. It's gone. We're through the looking glass here, people. I love
Absolutely, I
it.
love
I love it a lot. Yeah, very, very cool stuff, and I'm looking forward to that too. I'm hopefully going to get my hands on one of the IK Multimedia iRig mic studios, which just look like everything combined that you want. Because iRig have done really good, the iRig Pre, they've done the iRig mic, they've done the iRig Stream, they've done the iRig Pro. This kind of grabs all of that and just smooshes it all together into one device. So I know Jade and myself are both looking forward to checking out that one. Lots going on around here, that is for sure. I hope you enjoyed this show. If you're watching on YouTube, thumbs up, guns up, show some thumb love. If you're listening on the audio version, you can come over and look at our pretty faces over on the YouTube channel here at Studio Live Today. In fact, everything's at studiolivetoday.com. And if you are on the audio podcast, leave it a review. Preferably 5 stars is always a good thing to do on your podcatcher of choice. Jade knows what I say at the end of every show, and hopefully you do too by now. It is please be kind to yourself this week. Please be kind to others. And on behalf of Jade, my guest today, keep creating. Any final parting words, Jade?
Do the things that make you happy.
There you go. Now you know it's a Pete and Jade thing. We'll see you next time here on the Studio Live Today podcast.
Bye.
Clear. Clear.
I can put my pants back on.
Oh, oh, it's still rolling. Okay.
Yes. Look at that microphone, man.
I know. How good does it look?
I can't wait to get my hands on this thing. It looks so good. It looks so good.
Yeah. So again, like it basically takes everything. So because USB microphones historically have had compromises. So the capsule's been shitty, or the preamp's been bad, or the converter's been bad. But this 24-bit converter, 44 or 48, it's all you need. You don't need 96 or 192. You got the headphone output. You got a headphone amp in there. You got the low noise preamp, and obviously, the proof will be in the pudding. You got the same cable, like all the cables that they always give you.
You're looking at the wrong one. You're looking at the wrong one.
Am I at the wrong one? Oh shit!
Hang on. I'm like, hang on a minute.
What
it's
am I
this
on?
one.
God.
It's the other one. It's the Stream Pro. There it is.
Stream Pro. I was going to say that doesn't look like the right
I
design.
know.
Oh. Okay, well this is going to have
Stream
all the same.
Pro mic. So
Pro mic.
there it is. The link just down below. If you go down a little bit.
That's better. So yeah, so it does have 96 kilohertz. Okay, there you go. Yeah.
No, that's not it. That's the Stream Pro.
Let's put your video.
Here, put up my screen.
Hang on, I can't. What have I told you before about my inability to do anything after an hour? I lose
Here
the
it
plot.
is.
So,
There it is there.
That's the one, because this is the one that's got
Right.
the actual mic modelling on it, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it comes with a stand. Like, look at it. It comes with this little stand. There it is there. Look how sexy it is. And it's a built-in, it's an audio interface. It's got, you can do 4 multi-tracks out. It's got loop back. You can plug in a guitar as well. Oh, man, it looks so nice. I can't wait. It's currently just landed at the airport here in Melbourne. So I'm hoping FedEx get it to me today, or not. It's going to be Monday. This is one of their products I'm super excited about. Look at that thing. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to fix the problem that people are having using Safari on iPad and StreamYard, but it looks lovely.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. I finally found it. It's and cost, by the way, is not super cheap. It's showing here as 169 euros for whatever reason. I'm on the Euro site here for IK, but so it's it'll be. But look, Jade and I will check it out, and we'll let you know what.
I'll review
it
it next week.
But the multi pattern is a cool thing, because it shows here you can do, because it's got figure 8 pattern microphones, so you can actually make it like both. It can like for both sides if you want to do like a podcast with people like that. But it's also got your standard polar patterns as well. So yeah, an integrated audio interface. Yeah, this is what we were actually trying to find. What are the specs on it though? like included Mixbox CS. So to give you the full Mixbox CS with it, that'd be cool.
No, they don't. But actually, Mixbox is on sale at the moment. So if you're looking at getting the in-app purchase, it is on sale. Not a known thing, but the one thing that's interesting is it only has a 3/4 plug, so to plug in a guitar. But it does come with the actual connectors to put in a guitar lead in there instead. It comes with 2 DIN cables, one to a Lightning, one to a USB-C. Comes with the stand. Don't think it comes with a charger or the power supply, but I've got enough IK multimedia power supply that should cover it. I mean, you're like me. You have so many IK multimedia products. It's I open my wardrobe, and they all just fall on top of me.
Which again, I was talking to Jade offline that I do feel bad about because I know that we feel a bit snobby that we're just like, we get to look at this and we get to have this. And there, whatever.
Look at Brad.
Jade. Whatever.
Stuff me, Brad.
Yes. I know. There you go. Omni Collective Creativity. I didn't know that he had a built-in currency converter too. So not only can he help us tune things, he's
a living calculator.
He can do on-the-fly currency conversions. Is this available anywhere like at the moment? So let's see. Sweetwater. They usually have about the right US price for things like
Plus,
this.
if you buy it through IK and you've bought other IK multimedia products, remember you do earn these IK multimedia bucks. And you can use them at the checkout. So if you've put something in your checkout, you should, if you've ever bought anything, and you know, folks, you should do this. Whenever you buy something, register the product. Yeah. Because a lot of these companies now, not only do you get your warranty, but you also get a lot of these companies offer you like these dollar things, and IK Multimedia are one of them. If I go to hit buy now, and I think if I add to cart. And I think the maximum credits you can use, and each of their IK bucks are worth $1, and you can use 50 at the most. So that's $50 off. You could knock off if you've got enough of those bucks.
Nice.
It's something to keep in mind.
It's definitely something to do. So I'm confused now. The one thing. So it's iRig Stream Mic Pro.
Mic Pro, yeah.
See, Stream Mic Pro. So iRig have so many products, which is not a bad thing, but I think because they keep iterating and they keep having new products, try to find the right thing. Like I'll recommend someone the iRig Pro Duo, and they're like, oh, does that mean the iRig Stream Duo and like Stream Pro? And I'm like, no, it's the iRig, and now they've got the iRig Mic Pro, which is
it's iRig Stream Mic Pro, yeah. So they've combined everything because it's like got the goodness of the iRig Stream with the mic. It looks and it actually looks quite sexy. That's one thing. A couple of things I always kind of, I love IK so much. They're great supporters of my channel and such, but I find that their devices are looking a little bit long in the tooth, and that actually looks sexy. I would want to put that on my desk and kind of go, ooh la la, hello baby, and touch it and stuff.
Yeah, hopefully it's like, because I got the AKG Lyra a while ago, which looks kind of similar to this, bit more of a retro look to it, but it wasn't good. Like it didn't do the right things. It didn't have the ability. I can't remember what it was, but there was some fundamental. It didn't do like mix minus, which is like a fundamental thing for live streaming, and you couldn't really play back audio and record it as well. So even though it had a built-in audio interface, sometimes you got to look behind the specs and go, does it actually do that? But again, the IK, because it looks like they've put in their Stream Pro interface and then added a microphone, as opposed to the previous microphones whereby the converters and the interfaces built in. Because remember, a USB mic all USB mics are audio interfaces as well, because they do the analog to digital conversion for you. So
now, see, I have this sucker. It's not really, there you go. So I have the iRig Pro Quattro IO. Yes. This is what I use for my Mac. And I love this thing. Look at all the connections. It's over the top. It's much more than what I need. But again, what I don't like about it is the amount of knobs. There's too many knobs, and I feel I want simplification. Yeah. And what looks good about this mic is that it's just one big knob, because I'd rather touch one big knob than lots of smaller knobs.
Did you know that my nickname in high school was... Anyway, I also would prefer to touch. We were talking about this, yeah. If you're wondering, and I know Brad will cry if we talk about this, but the biggest challenge that we have, and I know you had some challenges recently with live streaming and audio quality. It just seems that, especially for iOS, you can't get, because iOS uses the browser. So things like StreamYard that we're using right now use a browser, and you can use it on iOS through the browser. But because every browser on iOS has to use the WebKit, which is like Apple's, even Chrome, anything you use has to use WebKit, and WebKit audio is just crappy and doesn't work well. The way that iOS handles audio, you could have like a $3,000 iPad Pro, but you try and plug in decent quality audio, and as soon as you open the browser, it just loses its mind. It'll switch between the inputs, it'll give you crackles and pops, it'll just not do the right thing. So
I can explain. I've done a deep dive into this. I know exactly what the problem is.
Give us the down low.
So when you notice, if you use iOS, whenever you plug in an audio interface, it takes a second to hijack the audio of the iPad. So the audio of the iPad is set to 48 kilohertz, and that is the inbuilt clock. So whenever you plug in a external audio interface, it takes a few seconds, it overwrites that, takes control, and then expands whatever the interface is, 96 kilohertz or whatever. So it gives you that wider range. Now, you can use all of that with apps. That's what it's made for. And the same with these iRig streams. You can stream with an iRig Quattro or this new mic into the YouTube app beautifully, no problem. You can even open up Mixbox in the background and use it for effects. That's how it's made. As soon as you open Safari and try to use something like StreamYard, Restream within the browser, where the problem is because you're using your camera. So you're using the camera on the iOS device, which has its own mic attached to it. So it's using the camera and the sound. When you plug in a device, it tries to override the sound, and then eventually that sound will get screwed up because the camera will flip sideways, and then it'll go back to the camera sound, and your audio interface will get cut off. That is the problem. Until Apple finally inject some kind of code into WebKit to allow you to use an audio interface separate and separate it from the camera, or StreamYard, Restream, all these streaming places, create an app. If you're listening, make an app. Make it easy for us. It can't be too hard. You're already probably using the same code to make the web browser anyway.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. Like, I don't understand it, because everyone, like, there's EV Mux now that Thomas has started using. There's StreamYard, there's Melon, there's Restream. There's like about 10 of them now that are these. And if you don't know what these apps are, restreaming apps. So the fact, like, right now we're live to Twitch, to YouTube, to Facebook, and to Twitter. And the way I do that is that I run StreamYard. It grabs the stream from my browser here in Chrome on my Mac, and then it sends it out to all of those. And because of Mac, you can set the audio, and in StreamYard you can set the audio, and it just stays put. Like, unless I open OBS, which I won't ever do during a stream. Jade knows at the start of this I had OBS and I closed it, and it hijacked all the audio and it messed things up. But as long as you don't touch anything, or you don't add any, change any audio settings, it'll sit there and it'll use my mixer for the audio input and output for the whole stream, no problem. So if you're doing live streaming and you want good quality audio, good quality music, I can use this setup for up to, 6 hours, Thomas? He was saying that the new, like, it goes over 6 hours and something bad would happen to something. He couldn't edit it afterwards, I think. So I think YouTube, as long as you're under 6 hours, everything's going to work fine. But that's only the editing side. Whereas as soon as you go to iOS, you can do basic stuff, but as soon as you start to, and USB microphone or an audio interface or any high quality audio, unless it's just plugs directly in via the Lightning jack or via the USB-C port, that's why when I've had people on this show and they're like, can I use my iPad? I'm like, you can, but you're only going to either be able to use the built-in mic or a headset that uses an analog connection. So that's plugging in through the Lightning or the USB-C jack, because it's kind of designed for that, because that is literally just using the internal audio, but it's like plugging a microphone into an old TRRS jack. But as soon as you go digital, it just loses its shit and doesn't work at all. So
Craps itself.
it does, and yeah, so that's a YouTube issue, the 6 hour thing. And like you say, it will take, and it's one of those weird ones, and it's annoying because it's not one person's. It's like when app developers, when iOS updates, and then the app developer is like, oh, iOS updated, it didn't tell us, and iOS were like, we gave you 6 months of the beta, you should have updated your app. So it's this thing where it's like the chicken and the egg, where one will blame the other, and so from IK's point of view, they're right. As long as you're doing it within an app, within their apps or within the YouTube app. Perfect, no problem whatsoever. As soon as you try and use it on a browser, it craps the bed. So we need one or the other, browser or app.
That's why I've had to put my special guest opening hours on hiatus for a bit. The problem is that I don't want to. I hate the artist who comes on feeling bad, and it's not their fault. It's just. It's so hard to coordinate what they're seeing on their computer, what they've got plugged in, because it's only normally one thing that's not checked that is the cause of everything. But because I can't see it, it's really frustrating to get a really nice mix. Like I had Rob and Cheyenne for the last one, and we couldn't do the show because we tried everything for 40 minutes and it just wasn't going to happen. And I wasn't going to go live with her sounding terrible. No way. Yeah. So we've put it on hiatus. I'll find another way around it and we'll make it work. But there's so many people wanting to do these campfire shows. Like Leela's got one coming up too with Brad and Falkenblueser and folk punk coming up.
His son.
Yes, the whole family affair. It's called In Bed with Leela, a family affair. But that's happening. But, it would be so good to be able to, come on and do it from your iPad.
Yeah.
We have the technology. Apple, fix that WebKit, but, they don't care about us musicians. We know that.
No, it's such a slim use case because it's got to be, it's people that want to live stream from their iPad, and then it's people that want to live stream from the browser of their iPad, and that's got to be like less than 0.1% of all consumers. 1,000 consumers. I'm going to the Apple store soon, actually. I'm going to jump off because I've got to get my ass over to the Apple store and go see a genius. I've got to see a genius about, I'll tell you about that in a sec. But yeah, it's so frustrating that you can't do it. By the way, my charger port's not working, and for anyone that knows this channel, this is quite hilarious that I have to go to the Genius Bar today because no matter how much I dig at it with my toothpick...
Pete, have you tried a toothbrush?
I've tried all the things. I've tried the compressed air and the toothpicks and the little floss brushes, and I've probably actually effed it up even more by doing that. But it'll be interesting because it's the first time I've actually gone to the... Because a lot of people watch my video after they've been to the Apple store. Because the Apple store say, no, I need to replace the whole port and it's going to cost you $600. And then they come home and they scrape it with a toothpick and then it works. Whereas I'm the opposite. I've tried the toothpick and now I'm going to go to the Genius Bar and say, hey, my charger won't stay charging in my lightning port. And it'll be an interesting experiment because we'll see what they say and we'll see if they do it for free or fix it or tell me to...
They could be able to fix that. Now, I used to work as a genius in the Apple store. Now, I think a charger port can be fixed now. They can actually take that out and fix that. I know microphones cannot be fixed. But let me give you some advice. If you get hit with the we have to replace it for $400, this works really well. Trust me. I've done this many times and it works nearly every time. Well, I've got a YouTube channel. Have you seen it? And just show them what you do. And they'll be like, wow, that's really interesting. And then if that fails, just do this. And it normally works. And they'll just give you a free one. I was
going to say, can I just cry?
It works. It does. No, but the last time I was there, I took in my iPhone SE, and the mic was screwed. They did the clean. They did the extreme clean. They come back and said, no, it's okay. We're going to have to do the other thing. And while they were doing that, the other genius who was sitting there with me, I was showing him how to app on iOS, and they were just like, wow, really? And then the other woman came back, and she was just like, oh, wow, really? You do this? We'll just give you a free phone.
There you go.
I love you.
Actually, what everyone should do, if you're in the UK, just say you're Mr. Smith and show that, because anyone could be Mr. Smith, and then you just like, this is me. I'm a musician. This is my YouTube channel, and they'll be like, oh wow, that's impressive, and then they'll give you stuff for free. So you don't actually have to be a person. Just say you're a person, and then you'll be fine.
But they're normally really kind. If you treat it's like anything. If you go into a store and are angry, but if you treat the people with respect and get to know them, tell them what you do with your device. Apple love hearing that stuff. They love knowing what you do with your stuff, and you create a conversation. You're more than likely to get somebody on the staff to go, you know what, we'll knock $100 off or whatever. Yeah. It really costs nothing just to be kind and share your experience with your products with these people, because they love it. They add it to their little what they talk about at the start of their conferences and that. They love it. Yep. They love hearing what you're doing with it.
Yes, well, we shall see. We'll see what sort of performance I can put on and how I go. Hang on, do I have a nose? Yeah, okay, I've got a nose hair just waiting there, because that's the only way I can
just
cry
roll
on
up
cue.
dishevelled, just wear some ripped clothes, rub some dirt in your eyes, say you've been living in a park.
Or go the other way. Shall I suit up and just walk in and go, hello, my name is Pete Johns of Studio Live. Yes, that Pete Johns. Yes. I have a small problem with my phone. Please fix it. Go. Fix.
Hurry back. Time is short on my expensive Apple Watch.
I'll be over the road at Cartier buying a new watch while you get this fixed up, please. All right, maybe not. All right.
Kindness goes a long way. Kindness and being nice. It's like saying when you go to the airport, don't get angry when they try and charge you for extra baggage. Just strike up a conversation and tell them how lovely they look. Normally they'll knock $10 off or $20. Trust me, it works.
You are so good looking.
Yeah. I know. I would do you. Maybe not that far.
They press the little button under the counter and the big security dude walks up. Oh, jeez. Okay.
You're gone.
All right. Folks have probably had more than enough of you and I by now. So, but thank you for that. I'll if you want to check out this, well, I mean, if you're here live, you probably don't want to listen again. But tell your friends, or if you missed it, or you just catch in the end, just the podcast version's available. StudioLiveToday.com/podcast. Go and subscribe. Even if you don't listen there, just subscribe to it and pretend to listen to it, because then it shows as a play. Because it's all about those vanity metrics, man. We want to have the vanity metrics.
I have one final request before we go, because you're my boss here at Studio Live Today. I'm probably your longest serving moderator here.
True.
I'd like to put forward a new moderator, if you would, for your consideration.
For your consideration, yeah.
Yes. Could we add Leela to the moderation team?
I think we can do that. I was going to say, imagine if I said no. Like, imagine if you went through that, and I'm just like, yeah, let's take this. Let's take this offline. That's what they would have said back in my corporate days. Let's take this offline.
I think she rocks. I think everybody loves her. She's happening. She's got some great shows on her channel. She's really creative. She's talented, and she's wonderful. And she puts a lot of work in. She cares for people. And I think she'd be a great addition to the moderation team.
Wow!
Because it would let me do less.
It's true. All right, it is done. She has she now has a spanner, as we say here in Australia, or a wrench,
welcome,
as they say in the US of A. You got yourself
welcome aboard,
a wrench.
Leela. We did it. Now ban everybody.
That's right. Now you can ban. Get rid of troublemakers like Desolate Morning. Are you? No, I'm not. I'm not actually encouraging a fake. That was tongue in cheek. That's our Australian sense of humour. That was a bit of a private joke between Jade and I. Not really, but yeah, there's people that do a lot of fake streams and fake listens and fake things. So that was a piss take. So no, don't go subscribe to people you don't listen to. Don't go and fake listen to a podcast you don't listen to. But if you want to subscribe to it, in case you're in your car and you want to listen in to Jade and Pete when you don't have access to a screen, then go your hardest. All right, there you go. Leela has the wrench. You can see her wrenching it up or spannering it up. Yeah, you can hand a man a grander spanner. And we've handed it to Leela now. All right,
thanks, Pete.
That is going to do it. So, thank you, everybody. I'll hit the button. I'll have a quick chat to Jade and say goodbye. But for the rest of you, have a wonderful day. We'll see you over the weekend. Oh, it'll dump you to the opening hour, by the way. I've set the dump to go to the opening hour. So set yourself a reminder and go to that, because I forgot that Jade was doing a thing earlier than that. Anyway.
And Ron's on next. Go and hang out with Ron. Oh, yeah,
go hang out with Ron. I should have dumped you to Ron. So search Ron Ward and go over there. Too many people. Too many things to remember.
I know. It's...
Oh, bye, everybody. See ya.